On the breaking news we've been covering, the tumble in stocks continues. Remember, we've been down close to 600 points today on the Dow, down 596 at the low, 480 to the downside right now. The NASDAQ's down by 100 points. So there we go. We got the trade issues. We have the tech issues. We're also watching interest rates quite closely. That said, housing starts did increase in October. Construction, though, of single-family homes fell and did so for a second straight month. National Association of Home Builders CEO Jerry Howard is our next guest. So good to see you, sir. I guess, you know, all things considered, it's been an okay year in terms of how you track things. So we want to know what's next, though. How do you view it?
Well, it's been an okay year, but we still haven't fully recovered from the recession. We hit about 66% capacity, and now seeing 2 months in a row of single-family starts going down. More concerning to me is our own internal polling. Our members' optimism level dropped by 8 points this past month. The headwinds are getting stronger, and as you referenced, it's really being led by concern about rising interest rates.
Yeah, it's got to be rates, right? It always is. Is there anything, as I asked one of our housing guests earlier, abnormal about this particular cycle, or we see higher rates, people start to get skittish about buying a new home?
Well, what's abnormal about this particular cycle is that there is still a great deal of consumer interest out there. As I said, we're only at 66% of capacity, which means that there's pent-up demand that's still in place. However, labor costs, material costs at the construction side of it, and now increased rates at the mortgage side of it, the back end of the table, is really squeezing things. And we've been, for a while, been sort of the canary in the coal mine saying something's got to give here, and hopefully it will, because the numbers are getting very concerning.
That's trade, I would think, on the cost side, at least partially for some of these companies. So what does next year look like, do you think? Best guess?
Right now, best guess is we think we're going to probably do a little bit less construction next year than we did this year, but we're getting more and more concerned about that forecast.
Now, variables would include the Federal Reserve, right? So if we're looking at the stock market today and it's down 500 points, 465 right now on the Dow, one of the things that we look at, obviously, say, well, the Fed might start to look at the economy and the indicators, so this being one of them, and say, we got to ease up a little bit here. So maybe we don't get the rate of increase we're expecting next year from the Federal Reserve, and then how does that affect how you look at things, Jerry?
Well, that's a great point, and actually I heard today that the Fed is taking notice and has said that they're going to look at housing and other elements of the economy as they go forward. We encourage them to slow down. If they do, and if we can start to solve some of our trade problems and our labor problems, there's no reason for housing to go down right now. And if housing stays up, I think it'll have a positive impact on the whole economy.
Yeah, it all depends what they think is more important, right? Because if because trade and the Fed could go together, we could be tougher on trade, and then the Fed might look at that and say, all right, now we got to slow down on rates. But if we cut some sort of a deal with China, it could be good news for growth, could be good news for the economy. But that might mean, Jerry, that the Fed stays at it and says, all right, we're going to keep raising rates.
They've got to balance it. They've got to look at what's needed here in the American economy, and we think there's a very strong demand and a need for housing, and particularly housing that's affordable to the American middle class.
Yeah.
We're coming into a real crisis situation.
It's interesting that there are people out there, they want to buy, they want to be in these homes, but you know, they're watching it like the rest of us. Jerry Howard, good to see you. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too. Happy Thanksgiving indeed.